In Buddhism, Buddhist art, Avalokitesvara, Guan Yin, the goddess of mercy, the goddess of compassion, perhaps was the most favorite subject or most favored topic. In Japan, this figure itself is more popular and revered than the Buddha himself. We see the fan of this figure. We see the stories of the figure, about this figure all over. And you may wonder, what are these things here? What are we looking at here? Here is one of them, gives you an idea about what was going on. It is because of this literary source, because of this text, that we know the image. Yes, there is a close relationship between the text and image, word and image. Because of these inscriptions we learn, this is about the foreign merchants. Yes, so foreign merchants encountering bandits. Foreigners all over China, along the Silk Road, near Dunhuang. And how do we know? This is the evidence. I don't have a painting, a scroll to show you. The painting I brought here is from 10th, 11th century. We don't have those individual paintings. They don't exist anymore. What I have, the visual evidence, what happened during this time. If I just told you, many foreigners were there, many different religions were there, you may ask, particularly, I have very good students. They are very inspired to learn. They ask wonderful questions, as you will see. I don't believe you, but I have this. They are still in situ. Yes? So these are the evidence, different ones. We also have Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. If you see the poster, I used this one. Guan Yin, whatever problem you are in, and you chant her name, you will be saved. Here we see people suffering, all kinds of suffering. Buddhism is about suffering. Dukkha. We suffer because we are so greedy. We have too many different things on our mind. We cannot detach. And we come to her, to worship her, to chant her name, whatever trouble you are in, and then you will be saved. Again, so this is called the Guan Yin Sutra, either transformation or tabula. You read the text from those inscriptions, and then you comfort yourself. This is the trouble I'm in, and this is how I get comforted. Yes, it's a spiritual journey. It's not just you are looking at the image. It's your conversation with this Bodhisattva deity who made the vow to save all the sentient beings before he or she became a Buddha. She made the vow not to be enlightened in order to save us. This is another cave. Venerable Ru Yuan requested to talk about it, and actually this is one of my favorite cave, and therefore, it was part of my syllabus anyways. So this cave, now we begin to see more and more people, right? Bodhisattvas, but not nearly as beautiful as the cave 45. But 220, however, is amazing. Give us different ideas about this is the exit. You're walking out. You can see on both sides. On both sides, you see the mural paintings, and this is the main wall, and this is your walk out. You walk in, you face the Buddha, you listen to him, he's preaching. Yes, then you walk around to look at the mural paintings. What's so fascinating and so amazing is this is about Pure Sutra, Pure Land Sutra, Western paradise. You must, for any religion, you must depict something very beautiful, very fascinating, yes, in order to attract people. At the same time, this is a way of chanting, way of reciting, way of accumulating merits, like what we are doing right now. In the middle, Pure Land, you always see here, the Pure Land. The three deities, of course, Amitabha in the center. Beside him, one of them is Avalokitesvara. Avalokitesvara, on her top, or his top, there's a small Buddha of his or her godfather, Amitabha. And then the other one has a vase, a pure vase. So these are the three main deities presiding the Pure Land. Then we also see musicians again. This visual evidence gives us an idea about the architecture. Early architecture, we don't have a piece of architecture, a temple, that early stage. There's only one in Shanxi, Foguangsi. We don't have many, and these are great evidence. Okay, due to time, let me go through quickly. There is Eastern Pure Land, that is the land of Medicine Buddha. We all need to pray to them, worship them, offering incense. Devotees walking at the time, not only do we look at who they are, have a conversation with them, we chant the sutra, we also make offerings. And we recite and chant. So this, we have both. What's so interesting about this cave? We also meet Avalokitesvara. We also meet Vamanakirti, who is an Indian layman. He lived a very good life. He was a Buddhist, but he could still have an ordinary life. He looked very cool here. He looked very cool, but with a duster. Looked like a fan in his hand. That's his icon. That's how we know this is a Vamanakirti, Indian layman. But his face, his face look very serious, because he loves to debate with Manjushri. The other side of the wall is Manjushri. We always see Vamanakirti and Manjushri debating. Why are they so popular? We know Buddha, Bodhisattva, even different Buddhas. Why these Vamanakirtis are so popular? Why scholars? My great-great-grandparents, why they love this figure? Because he can have both lives. And remain Buddhist, on the other hand, live like many of us. Both life, and he's a very articulate, nobody can win in the debate with him. This is another very good example how closely image is located to words. This is based on the Vimalakirti Sutra, which was a very popular text as well. This one Vimalakirti became a model at the time, a way of living. And so scholars revere him and read the sutra, the Vimalakirti Sutra. We believe, in terms of art history, I don't want to make the family friends bored, but since this is art history class, I want to talk about I mentioned a little bit about Wu Daozi, one of the greatest artists. Sadly, we don't know for sure if there is a painting by him today. Maybe tomorrow another cave in Dunhuang will be excavated. Then that's another story. Right now, we believe this is one of the closest images to his style. 曹衣出水，无带当风。The robes, and his facial expression is like this wind going through. It provides a great sense of motion. What's most interesting is in Buddhist caves, not only do we see Buddhist figures, we also see the rulers. The emperor himself, one of the emperors, is there, meaning perhaps they were the patrons. Or another reason, one, they were the patrons, or the cave, one of the wishes the patron donated is to wish him to live long, the country more prosperous. This image, the portraits of the Buddha, the emperor, reminds us the painting, the 13 emperors, supposed to be by Yan Liben of Tang Dynasty, Tang Dai, the Yan Liben. I just chose a detail, one of them. So now there is, a similarity at the time. Similarities between the mural painting and active painting. That painting came down to us. Right now, it's at the Boston Museum, Fine Art, Boston Museum of Fine Art. It's a long scroll with different emperors from previous dynasties. And here we see the similarities in between. In this cave, we also see Sagadins, the dancers Hu Xuanwu. The Sagadin dancers, who are the Sagadins? They are today's, more or less, people from Uzbekistan. It's so close in northwest of China, so close to it's on the Silk Road, so close to the northwest of China's regions and to Dunhuang. We see those dancers, musical instruments. For example, here we see the pipa. She's playing pipa on her back, musical instruments, right? So all those Pure Land, paradise give us a lot of mural paintings, give us a lot of ideas about what was like, what the sutra described. How do we know the cave? Time, the date. Many times we do have an inscription in the caves that carry a date. These are invaluable for scholars like myself who study Buddhist caves. These are really invaluable. This tells us this is from 16th year of Zhenguan, Tangdai Zhenguan, that equals to year 642. That's how we know. I wish all of them had this. Then I don't have to study. I can just have fun. I don't have to ask you the questions. And in the caves, you can also expect the donors, the name of the donors who patronized. Bill Gates may come, oh, this temple is very small, we need the bigger ones. Let's do bigger ones. Not only do I patronize the image, I patronize the whole cave. And because of those invaluable inscriptions, we also know. All the caves just now you look at, they were all shrine caves, i.e., you worship them, you listen to the Buddha to teach, to preach. This is the first cave. One of my favorite caves is cave 255. This is the first time we see a central pillar. That reminds many people of the Ajanta cave. The central pillar. The central pillar initially is a symbol of the Buddha's death, and it's believed the Buddha's ashes were buried inside the stupas. And this is the first time we are looking at a stupa. Stupa has religious function. That is, the devotees walking, you circumambulate. You walk around clockwise. Do I worship the Buddha first, circumambulate first, or do I look at the narrative stories? For example, the story of Mara's attack or subduing. He does not like the Buddha to be enlightened, so he used his daughter, three beautiful daughters, young and beautiful, to lure the Buddha, but he was very determined, so he touched the ground and defeated all of his armies. Animal faced the armies, and then his daughters became ugly and old ladies. That gives you an idea, those fables and stories, they call the Jataka stories from his previous life. These are also in the cave. Do I require a knowing audience? You have to walk in, know the story, that you don't need me. Or maybe Mr. Long give you a lecture first, or he will, we don't have a good answer. The sources never tell us how they used. So the function of each religious space in medieval China has been on my mind. How it's not easy to reconstruct, but we have to do something nobody has ever done, right? So it's not just one Jataka story. We also see the story. Another story is the Shatri Taizi, Sata prince. He saw three princes, went out, and then he saw a very starving tiger. This is his Buddha's previous life. Saw this starving tiger, and then he covered himself in order to feed the starving tiger, and then eventually he's put into a pagoda to be worshipped. The death nirvana. And that's a kind of a story, gives us an idea, life and death, the cycle. The moment you died and the moment you are reborn. This is another central pillar cave 428. Just an idea to tell you how complicated, how do we read and look at those caves. Now I put the numbers on. You can see the way we read this like it's an S-shaped. Yes, from right to left gives you an idea of, the Buddha in his previous life, in order to save the starving tiger, he jumped into the cliff here, the mountains. He jumped into the cliff and then trying to feed the tiger, but the tiger was too starved, no energy. So the Buddha used a bamboo stick to poke himself and to cut himself into pieces so that the baby tiger can eat him. All those stories, while we're looking at learning about them, and it's a way of accumulating merit and transformation. Those are also from the text, Jessica stories. We have a different, another different story, and here I put this painting. This is the painting. Later on, I will invite you to all take a look. This is what we believe. From these scrolls, like that scroll, that's how the film was produced in the early stage. That's the inspiration comes from. You always start from right to left. And we have more this is the last one about Jataka, about the Buddha's stories in his life. Again, three beautiful daughters to the left, and then they became ugly ladies, trying to distract him not to become the Buddha. Dunhuang was truly a pearl, a gem along the Silk Road. It's not only a Buddhist monument, it's a world heritage. It is also today our responsibility not only to study them and to figure out how to preserve them. From west to east, we move on quickly. I have 5 more minutes. I'm talking too much. We move on to another Buddhist monuments. This is a lesser known. This is the first time even for students. It's called Yungang. In today's Datong, in Shanxi province, in north part of China. Pingcheng at that time, it was the capital of the Northern Wei dynasty from the 4th century to the early 6th century. Yungang is very different from Dunhuang. This one supposedly built around 453, 460, 453, then it stopped 524, that's it. It's less than a century. And it's a smaller scale. In Yungang caves, we do not have mural paintings. Those stories are not that complicated. We don't have many Jessica stories, complicated stories like this one in Dunhuang. Here we have stone sculptures. What you're looking at, these are called 5 colossal image caves. They are supposed to represent not only the Buddha, they represent the 5 emperors. This is the court cave. If Dunhuang was supported, patronized, commissioned by the eminent monks, then this was the capital, near the capital, and the court, the Northern Wei. They were not Chinese, but they warmly embraced Chinese culture, embraced Buddhism. It was under the Northern Wei Tuoba clan people. Buddhist art flourished. Yungang is another World Heritage. These are the caves excavated, carved into the mountain for quite a long time. For centuries, we had no idea what was going on top of it. Until in recent couple of decades, we learned, in fact, Buddhist monks lived above them. And out of that new material, archaeological material, I wrote a book about this. Once we talk about it's the court cave, sponsored by the Northern Wei, non-Chinese people, and then they resemble the cave, the rulers, the previous rulers and current ruler. And according to the literary source, the history book, it goes, once the image was finished, we see there is a mold on the face of the Buddha, because that's exactly what one of the emperors had on his black spot on his face. That's how interesting we have those kinds of stories. This should remind you of, yes, the presidency, right? Same idea, same. However, we don't have any much sources about how we started this large scale. And this is something I think. Let me read it. 云冈石窟刻下的是神性的面容，讲述的却是人的史诗。青史之上，有名者寥寥。We don't have, because it's a sculpture. We don't carry on their names. The same thing, the terracotta warriors. Sculpture never be considered as a high-class art. So we don't have. And however, we have these monuments. Along them, we have around 50,000 images and 45 large caves in this. I only want to quickly to invite you to this cave. Again, it's a central pillar cave. Perhaps this is one of the most ornate, beautifully decorated cave in entire Yungang, Cave 36. What's so interesting about this cave is on the pillar, there are many biographical tales of the Buddha based on the sutra I have here. It's based on the text. This is my new research. We know the Buddha's life. The stories, the images were influenced by many texts. But for this particular cave, I would argue this cave is purely based on this text. One of my evidence is visual evidence because the Buddha's life stopped. In this cave, visual images, Buddha's life stopped. After his first sermon, we don't have other stories after his sermon. We don't have his nirvana image, which was very popular. We don't have. And this is where this sutra stopped. That's one of the arguments. Let me spend quickly 1 or 2 minutes to give you an idea how the stories are told. This is the story about the Buddha here as a prince. His 4 encounters. Here you can see here the 4 encounters are he met a sick person, a dead person, elder person, and he also met a spiritual person. Here we see he met somebody is sick holding a cane. Here, there are 4 encounters that completely changed his life. The sick person, the elder person, and here we see the dead person. How do we know where's the dead person? How do we know this is a dead person? Because the banner, you see this is a funeral. It's just so detailed, vividly depicted. And the last moment, he saw this spiritual figure that completely changed his life. And he decided to live the luxury life, as many people here live your luxury life, and to live a spiritual life. And through meditation, thinking, concentration, he became enlightened. That's the person made him happy, calm him down. He found happiness he never felt, content he never had before. We also have stories about his marriage, very interesting, wrestling, writing, archery, swimming, running, all those kind of his stories. Here you see this, the stories, somebody was defeated and fainted. And then here's a bottle to feed him, give him some water. This image initially was considered as a pleasure at the palace, but however I argue, in fact, even though they look like it's intimacy, but in fact, this is still part of the competition. Whoever wins can marry the beautiful lady, the daughter, the princess, right? So this is still part of the wrestling competition. As the text tells us, the Buddha, the prince at the time, you're supposed to have all kinds of this type of skills, the worldly skills, swimming, mounting, horsemanship, carriage driving, bow and arrow skills, rowing, swimming, elephant mounting, all kinds of, mathematics, science, so on and so forth. The text recounts all of it, tells us these stories, and visually these are told. We also have, again, Mara's attacking of the Buddha and distracting him and trying to not to allow him to be enlightened. And these animals became ferocious looking as what we are looking at. These are the animals, the Mara. This Mara's attack is such a popular episode we see in Gandhara. The piece right now is at the Freer Secular Museum, now currently called the National Asian Art Museum. The story ends in Yungang, his first sermon. The text read, we don't have much time. In class, we will read, of course, the text describes his enlightenment and his first sermon at the Deer Park. His first story, and then the audience here and listening to him. And do not fear, Mildra, tell the sentient beings, do not fear. All of those stories are closely related either to historical records, Buddhist monks. Many Buddhist monks were from 4th century Faxian, Xuanzang, Tang Dynasty, 7th century, along the Silk Road. Their writing came down to us. From historical records, eminent monks' journals, and Buddhist sutras. In Buddhist caves, we see there's a close relationship between words and image, text, sacred text, and image making. However, in my synopsis, in a poster I mentioned, it does not mean, I'm hoping some of you will ask that question. How do the artisans remember the text? Are they all Buddhist? That's something we can discuss anyways. Before I end my talk, let me share something very interesting. So this is the cave we were looking at, and this is his first sermon. And this is the cave 5, it's a shrine cave with a huge Buddha, seated Buddha. These two caves next to each other. Initially, in my argument, I believe there were supposed to be 3 large niches, 3 large Buddhas with the narrative stories. However, ladies and gentlemen, when they were first digging the wall of Cave 5, artisans were not careful enough. And there's a hole in between. So the wall became so thin, you cannot have a big Buddha there. It's very easy to tell you the story. These are years and decades of observation and study and figuring out with all the more archaeological discoveries. We see this. So there is a hole here, right here. And that's why the wall is so thin. Then they changed. They made it into 1,000 Buddhas, which does not require too much space. Yes? So Yungang caves also face the same problem. Looting and losing those stolen stories. Even here, it's a newspaper. September 28th in 1933, this Beiyang Huabao newspaper talks about how the Yungang images are lost. And one of them, and here, and this is one of them at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. This is Mimi Gates. Students all know her, Mimi Gates Foundation. They sponsored a lot of reconstructions, but not reservations, conservations of the Dunhuang caves. She also visited the Yungang caves. And this is us in March at the Metropolitan Museum of conference. I saw this is the last time I saw her. I told students we should remember those who care about preserving the historical relics. Yungang does not belong to China, does not belong to anybody, but belong. I think I talked too much. Stopped. This is the last one, unfortunately. Yungang does not belong to anybody. Dunhuang does not belong to anybody. It belongs to the world. That's why it's world heritage. What I want to show you here, and I have many art history art students. This is a young man. After he graduated from Fine Art Academy, he volunteered. He was just fascinated by the Buddhist sculptures, by the beliefs, by what happened. Just the whole thing mesmerized him. Then he said, I want to work here. And this is what he's doing, producing. I was just talking about this on the way here. It doesn't mean what he produced will be put into the caves. No, it gives you an idea what he witnessed in 200 years, at least. And this is what he witnessed. And I hope students particularly, and the parents, mom and dad, pay your children to see those caves, to let them experience themselves. Thank you very much. 谢谢法师。
On behalf of Ocean Miami Temple in BOI Miami, we really appreciate for this chance to have Professor to be on site and share this wonderful lecture with us. And the other thing is that I would like to welcome all the students and their friends and families from FIU. We are very happy to see you all here. I think being in the temple and you learning the Buddhist art in class is different, because when you learn the Buddhist art in class, you will see, oh, that's long time ago. But present at this temple, you will learn how the modern Buddhist is practicing right now. Okay, so I'm really happy and really appreciate Professor Yu to have everyone to be here and welcome all of you. We do prepare a very delicious vegetarian lunch for everyone.
Thank you so much.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
谢谢您，谢谢您。
Yeah,
Thank
so,
you.
I think later on we will welcome everyone to have lunch just next door. It's very delicious and prepared by our volunteer. And we have a little gentleman would like to offering the flowers to the.
谢谢您。Thank you so much. 谢谢你，谢谢法师，谢谢。
Okay, maybe we can all stand up.
Yes. 谢谢您。
Okay, thank you everyone.
谢谢。问2分钟问题吧。
好 ，OK，
好。您说吧。Okay. I think I talk too much. 1 or 2 questions, and then I need the students to sign your name, as we do always. 1 or 2 questions. John, thank you. John is a professor in an honors college from FAU. He's a fabulous artist. Yes. John Bailey is a very well-known artist.
As these works, as they were dormant almost to the world for hundreds of years, as they become awakened again to human awareness, what parallels do you see between these and works in, for example, other parts of the world? For example, I know you talk about the Sistine Chapel, and what kind of cross-fertilization do you see now and in the future?
That's an excellent question, John. I think the ideal, John is a professor as well, ideally we teach students in a global context. This is exactly what we're talking about. When we think about Yungang Caves, Dunhuang Caves, let us also think about, John mentions, in class I talk about Sistine Chapel, the large church in Milan, which also took 100 years. So I want you to think about those questions. Number 1, function. That's a big hole in art history in the field, anthropology, archaeology, how they functioned. Back then, around the 4th century, 5th century, 6th century, how were they used? How much documents we have? How we are going to, another question is around the world these days what they're doing is digitize them. Very soon you can watch them, you can see them online and to experience that, right? Dunhuang is doing that, Yungang is doing that. I know in many churches and religious spaces, they are also doing digitization. That's another, yes. We should certainly highly recommend we change or push the approach of learning. By the way, I also want to mention Professor Eric Larson, the chair of the religion department from Florida International University is here. Eric, thank you for coming. Thank you, Eric. Any other one question, one good question from students? Another good question. We need 2 good questions before lunch, right? Yes.
So I was noticing in the Dunhuang caves a repeating motif with the Buddhist sculptures, particularly when you have kind of the assortment of the Buddha in the center, you have the monks, the Bodhisattvas. My question is, the monks seem to be in a more intimate relationship to the Buddha, they're a little closer. Does that mean that in Buddhist ideas, are the monks more favored with the Bodhisattvas? Because of that more, the depiction seems to be that the monks are a little closer relationship to the Buddha.
That's a good, that's an excellent observation. Because of those two, they were attending to all his lectures. They listened to them, everything, and it's because of their memory. And they told us this is what Buddha said. Therefore, as we know, all the sacred books, texts started with, thus I have heard. Thus I have heard. That's perhaps the main reason. However, sometimes it also depends, and that's an excellent question. It depends on the artisans. We do see in different cases, very not as regular as what you experienced, you witnessed, but we do see in other cases, Bodhisattvas are next to the Buddha. So that's an extra question. That's what I was trying to push you to ask. Did the artisans recite the Buddhist texts? Did they learn about the historical records, how much they knew about it, how much flexibility the artisans had? That's a great question. So sometimes we do see, beside the Buddhas, the Bodhisattva, particularly if it's Guanyin, goddess of mercy. That's a good observation. These days with AI, while we're living in this era, it's not what you learn, it's what you ask, what you think. In the classroom, because today is in this setting, I have to lecture. In the classroom, I don't lecture much. I ask a lot to push students to keep thinking of, and I hope we can do more conservation and have more images put online, digitized. Good? Yes.
Thank you, Professor Yi, for coming here today. We appreciate that. In fact, our temple here in Miami is going to join our international conference in Nanjing in the middle part of October. And then after the conference, we plan to visit the caves in Dunhuang.
Okay.
So thank you so much for giving us the preview of the wonderful architect. And we appreciate that. Thank you so much. And also, I might also chip in answer the question that Daniel has asked. In Buddhism, we call triple gem, the diamonds, the precious stone. The first one is Buddha. The second one is what? And the third part is the monastic, the monk.
Sangha.
So these three are together, help us to understand Buddhism. So that's why you see the center, the monk, are so close to Buddha. That's why these are the two gems to fit. Thank you.
Buddha, Dharma, the Sangha. Yeah, the three jewels. Thank you. Excellent. Yep. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. In the beginning, he had to have 5 disciples to follow him. That's the earliest Sangha we know. And in many Buddhist art, you see them following these 5 people. In fact, those 5 people, after he left the palace, his father was very worried about him and sent those people following him. And then they saw him meditate a little bit, and he started taking food and milk from ladies. They said, maybe he's not serious, so they left him. And then they came back to follow him again. They realized, after such a long time of fasting, he became very frail. He needed something. But eventually he achieved enlightenment. Then they followed him. They became his first audience, first Sangha, first Buddhist community at the time. We called the Buddha Dharma Sangha. That's what we learned. Those many interesting stories, many things to share. Later on, while you gradually move into the dining room, if you're interested, this is a 洛神赋 scroll, but it's a calligraphy scroll. The reason I took it here is to show you the format in ancient history. The format is you look at is the format of a scroll. You look at the scrolls from right side to left side. It's a process. That process itself is also a learning experience. This gives you an idea how much, even in painting in general, even in painting, how much it closely related to images. 洛神赋, also for China, Japan students, you look at the images already, but you have never seen the calligraphy part, the words, how it's related to image. 洛神赋 is quite a touching story. A prince fell in love with his sister-in-law. And then Charles Zhi wrote this 洛神赋 and Gu Kaizhi later on. I'm just using my one hand. Here. You're always supposed to start from right side. You are never supposed to. You're never supposed to open the whole thing. While you're opening the right side from right side to left, and I'm closing this part at the same time, so you can only see this part. Today I brought this part, one, to give you an idea how much in history word and image are closely related to. I want to say we don't have many Buddhist scrolls these days. We don't have. What we have is on the mirror, on the wall, mural paintings. We only have right now one scroll like this, in this format. Used to be at the Dunhuang Caves, but now at the French National Library. That's the only one we have in this format. You saw many paintings today, but they are on the wall, or silk banners. So this is a format. I also want to say when you study or when you discuss this, you have this one initially. This one initially is a scroll because a contemporary Chinese artist, Wang Qinsong, based on this, made another a photograph. And then we just printed this as a photograph. The painting, same thing. Some of you took the Chinese painting class with me. You know this inside out. You also start from right side. And then you move to left side. This is actually a live record of the event. You see, this looks like people are having fun, but this is a very political painting. It's about the Prime Minister, Han Xizai. He was not happy with the court life, so he threw himself and started the party. So the emperor sent Gu Hongzhong, the painter, go to his house to see what was going on. So this is a live record. We start from right side. You do see here, and there's one of the reasons I took this one here. You see Buddhist monk were among the guests. Yes? So even the Buddhist monks. And there are a lot of stories. These ones influenced the format of the mural paintings. The scroll format influenced the format of the mural paintings you were just looking at, right? I have a different form. Initially, here on the paintings, that's one of the characteristics of Chinese paintings, Japanese paintings, the chops, the seals. They carry a lot of meaning. Words became integrate part of the art, words, image, and text or poetry, calligraphy, painting became one. So that's why I brought this too. And this is such a beautiful painting. Anyways, thank you very much. Thank you. This piece now is at the Palace Museum, Beijing. If you go there, you can take a look. 我们要拍一张照吗？好，好吧。
Okay.
好。
Take a group photo. So let's have a group photo together before we head into lunch, okay?